Happy Monday. Welcome to another sneak preview. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
I'm Caleb Leger.
And today we're discussing two 2021 releases, King Richard and The Power of the Dog. For the bulk of the show, we've each prepared our own lists of what we believe to be the 10 best remakes we've ever seen. A couple weeks back, we did our top 10 worst remakes. Figured this would be a fun follow-up during a particularly slow week of releases. So that's our show, top 10 best remakes.
It's gonna be a slow week this week and next week. Like they're clearly like nothing's coming out because Spider-Man's coming out.
Next week is far from a slow week. You just got to know where to look. But I'll get more to that at the end. It's a slow week for you. You don't want to see any of these movies. But
no, I don't get it until Spider-Man comes out. So you have fun with
that. But first, let's see what happened last week in film. Last week in film. First up, one trailer and one first look to discuss. We finally got the long-awaited teaser for Netflix's new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, which has the imaginative title of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just dropping the very creative. Release date is February 18th on Netflix. What?
It's like the Fast and the Furious when they dropped the thes for the fourth movie.
Yeah. I mean, just try. I mean, whatever. This tells me that there's at least in the title department, shit's a little lazy here. But we'll see, February 18th on Netflix. We'll find out.
Well, and I will say, I know I have not been the biggest proponent of the Chainsaw Massacre since the announcement with Netflix, and I still have my questions on why they waited so long and sat on a finished film, because it's not like they made this, they got this finished. So I still have my questions about why it's taking so long to release it. With that said, to their credit, they have really upped the marketing game since finally putting out that date, with putting out the date, it being on Entertainment Weekly, popping up online, putting out the teaser. And based off this teaser alone, I'm actually kind of interested in this take. Again, I'm still a little concerned because was supposed to be theatrical. It's going to Netflix now, and again, they signed on for as long as they did. But the trailer got me interested enough to be like, okay, I'm curious on what you're going to do with this. I think that shot when she's under the house and he just fucking shoves the chainsaw through the floor and then it's cutting through the floor, that was pretty badass. I was in on that scene, so I'm a little bit more down to see this take on Leatherface and family.
I'm in, but that scene that you're talking about was neat, but also made me think he's gonna fall through that fucking floor. He's cutting up the floor with a chainsaw. He's gonna fall. But maybe he won't. I'll have to see the movie.
He might fall. Who knows? He hits a beam somewhere along the way.
Yeah. I mean, we saw in the original that he, when he just fucks up that door, pisses off the whole family. Leatherface clearly he didn't give a fuck about home decor.
Not one bit.
So that looks neat. We also got the vibrant first look at Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which has been revealed to be part one of a two-part story. The film hits theaters on October 7th, and this, of course, looks awesome. We all knew this was going to look awesome.
Josh told me this trailer was out, and I completely forgot to fucking watch it, so I've not seen it yet, but I will after this recording.
It's not so much a trailer; it's more just a extended first look. It's a clip, but it does feature Spider-Man 2099, who's going to be voiced by Oscar Isaac. And other than that, there's not really any plot details, but this is going to be pretty badass. The first one was really cool. And as I said, it's been revealed to be a part one. So Cross the Spider-Verse is going to be a two-parter.
Yeah, they got some high hopes. I mean, I know how much people love the first one. I love the first one myself, but okay.
Well, okay. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home is projected to make 200 million, opening box office. So I think everything's going to be just fine.
I got my Thursday night ticket, so
I got my
Yeah, no,
Friday night tickets because I've got a flight.
No, I think Thursday because it's my birthday, and I was like, I'm seeing Spider-Man. It's on my fucking birthday, so yeah. No, I'll check. I'll probably check this out. I mean, as long as it's not like that bullshit that was the Jurassic World shit. They're like, hey, the new trailer for Jurassic World, and it's like, no, it's not. It's like the whole opening 5 minutes of the fucking movie that I don't want to see until I go see the fucking movie.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, but not that long. And I'm pretty sure it starts out like that, but then it turns into like a kind of just watch it. I don't know how to explain it. That's all for trailers. The 1992 sports comedy White Men Can't Jump is getting an inexplicable remake from director Cal Maddock, who just finished helming a remake of House Party, which was his first film. Prior to that, he directed a whole lot of music videos, including Lil Nas X's Old Town Road. So the Old Town Road guys directed a remake of White Men Can't Jump.
If I don't hear that song at any point in the movie.
I've never seen the original White Men Can't Jump, so I don't really have a dog in this race. But
yeah, I mean, I've seen the video for that Lil Nas X video. I've seen that. The one with was it the guy the Achy Breaky Heart guy?
Oh, Billy Ray.
There you go. It's like Billy Ray. I've seen that one. I've seen. That's about all I got. I haven't seen White Men Can't Jump, so I got no dog in the race either.
Yeah. Just of all movies to remake, I guess at this point in Hollywood, anything's on the table, right? It doesn't matter anymore.
They don't care as long as it exists as a movie.
Yep. This was cool. Sony and Marvel have announced that Spider-Man No Way Home is not the end for Tom Holland's role in the MCU. They have announced an entirely new trilogy. So we're getting 3 more Spider-Man movies. So buckle up.
Yeah, I mean, I could have told you this. Like, I mean, it's just like I think it's safe to say like with DC and Batman, right? Like that is the face of that comic and probably the most successful film series they'll ever do.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with Spider-Man and Marvel. Like he's very much the face, has become the face of people of Marvel, and I understand like X-Men, Fantastic Four were very much first and more well known, but you could argue a lot of people know Spider-Man. A lot of people love Spider-Man. He has become kind of like they're one of their biggest poster boys. So it makes sense. And like we're seeing with the pre-ticket sales for No Way Home. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense that they would want to keep this relationship going and make more movies.
It does make sense. And it's no surprise that there's no way in hell the Spider-Man franchise was going to end for good in 2 weeks. No. What I was worried about was this going to be Sony's last film with Marvel Studios? Because Sony's been kind of antsy about that relationship for quite some time now. There's been, conflicting reports of like they're done, they're not done, Tom Holland's done. Like, now to get final confirmation that they are going to continue with 3 more movies, it feels good.
Yeah, and it's exciting too because I think like we can get stuff like the college years and the adult years of Spider-Man that you don't really get as often. I feel like in movie form.
Yeah,
I know like Tobey Maguire's actually kind of touched on that and like it's like when he was in college and so on. But like we don't really get a lot. You do see it in like the video game adaptations, the comics, obviously, not the movie side. So like to kind of see that grow and more likely get that going forward, because I'm going to assume that this film he'll be pretty much done with high school. So,
well, we've never really gotten to know a Spider-Man long enough to establish a relationship like that. Tobey Maguire got 3 movies, Andrew Garfield got 2 movies, and they just keep going right back to the beginning every time. We never get, a different section of Spider-Man's life. It's always high school. So this time, we're gonna get that Venom spin-off thing. That's probably gonna be Spider-Man 4 or 5. We'll get some, Craven, Sinister Six. If this isn't the Sinister Six movie, there will be one. Sky's the limit now. We're gonna get to see some cool shit. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Like I said, now that Sony's finally playing ball, apparently, the sky's really limits what they want to do, and like you kind of like we said with the end of the Venom tease, the Venom 2 tease, like clearly this is all now in the same universe. As of now, we don't know what Spider-Man No Way Home has in store for us yet.
I would.
So
I think it's safe money to bet that the Raimi films and Andrew Garfield's 2 Spider-Man films are going to become MCU canon with this movie, which is just so exciting. That means the MCU, like your rewatch, officially starts in 2002 now.
Well, I'm still placing bets that we're seeing the Spider-Men in this movie.
Oh yeah. All I needed was as evidence was Tobey Maguire nonchalantly just walking through New York City with a fucking giant Spider-Man poster, not a care in the world. That's all I needed.
Oh, it is happening. Nice.
He doesn't give a fuck. It's great. It'll be nice, at least for Andrew Garfield. Like when this movie finally comes out, he'll finally be able to calm down a little bit.
Right? Not have to keep being like, I'm not in the movie, guys.
I can't wait.
On one hand, I do like as much as I'm like, dude, just stop like saying it because it makes you look like you're gonna be in the movie. Like you're definitely gonna be in the movie. On the other hand, I kind of get it because I'm like, I would get annoyed too if I was trying to promote a movie and it just kept leading back to Spider-Man. Like after a while, that would start to bug me as well. I'd be like, can you please stop asking the fucking question?
Look, Andrew Garfield, you're a great actor. You're talented, Oscar-nominated performer. But as of right now, no one on earth gives a fuck about the Eyes of Tammy Faye or Tick, Tick, Boom. All people want to hear about is Spider-Man. So you just go with it.
Like based off people's reaction. Yeah, based off the trailer and pre-ticket sales, I never thought if you were told me Spider-Man's gonna be the film that gets people back to the fucking theaters during the pandemic, I would have been like, I think there's some stuff coming out before then that would do it. Nope, apparently it's fucking Spider-Man.
Yep. Godzilla, Shang-Chi, Michael Myers, and Spider-Man. Good job.
Proud of you guys.
A little bit of sad news here. Character actor Tommy Lane has died at 83 from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, as it's commonly called. Lane was known for his role as Adam in Live and Let Die, Dr. Kananga's henchman who leads Roger Moore's James Bond on an epic boat chase through the bayou. Lane also appeared in Shaft, Ganja and Hess, and Cotton Comes to Harlem. And it's a shame to hear, talented character actor gone from us. And his scene in Live and Let Die is iconic. The boat chase in the bayou is one of Roger Moore's best set pieces in his run as Bond. Also introduced us to the one and only Sheriff J.W. Pepper.
No. I hated how happy you got when you popped up in that scene because you know how much I hated his character.
I watched Live and Let Die fairly recently, and like the more I watch it, the more just uncomfortable I get by that guy. He's such a horrific racist.
It's such a horrendous caricature that I'm just like, oh my god. And don't get me wrong, like I can watch that stuff. I'm not one of those that gets fucking offended by this shit in old movies, like whatever. But sometimes, like even I'm sitting there like, ooh, that's bad. Like it's like anytime I watch the one where Sean Connery does yellow face. Oh, he doesn't even do yellow face. He just changes his fucking hair. Like
you only live twice. Yeah, they give him an Asian style bowl cut so he can hide from the bad guys.
Yeah, I still enjoy that movie, but I just sit there every time just going, wow, that's what they decided to go with.
All right. Sheriff Pepper. I can understand that character being in Louisiana while James Bond happens to be also in Louisiana. Why the fuck does he show up on vacation in, I think, Japan in The Man with the Golden Gun? That's what I can't forgive.
He's a man of many talents, apparently.
Nope, just shouting different kinds of racial slurs this time.
Yeah. It says that, that they were doing that comedy. Like, that was meant to be comedic. And it's like, I'm sure people laughed their asses off back then. Now I'm just looking at it going like, this isn't funny.
Well, you know what? Tommy Lane killed it in that boat chase. He left his mark on Bond history. It's a damn shame he's gone. Rest in peace.
Yes, because he did. Like that boat chase sequence is definitely to me one of the biggest highlights of the entire series.
Oh yeah. And we've saved the best news for last. The upcoming Renfield movie, starring Nicholas Hoult, has found its Count Dracula in the one, the only Nicolas Cage. Oh my God.
When I texted you that, Josh was like, yelled at me. He's like, I already read it. I was like, I have to put it in the group chat because if I don't and Connor doesn't see it, we completely missed a chance to talk about it on Sync Preview. So I was like, that's why I was like, I have to send this to the group chat. We must know that the best news has happened. And then we may have lost the chance to see him play Joe Exotic in the Tiger King adaptation that was going to happen. I would have been so down to see what he would have done with that character. But now getting him as Dracula, fuck yes.
I honestly can't imagine better news this week. We're gonna get to see Cage play Dracula. Vampire's Kiss is coming to life. He is a vampire. This is gonna happen.
He's a vampire.
Oh my God, he's the vampire. He's the Count. I'm so excited to see what he does because he's going to ham this shit up harder than he has ever done anything in his career.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. Especially like their description of the movie said it's going to be a broad comedy. So I'm just like, yes, he doesn't have to hold back.
Has he ever held back?
Big.
Oh God. Awkwafina has also joined the cast. Renfield is entering pre-production with no release date yet, but this is shaping up to be a highly anticipated movie for me, just because I've always loved Nicolas Cage. I've been a staunch supporter of him my entire life. I have watched his paycheck gigs. I have enjoyed his rebirth, and now I'm going to get to see him play Dracula. Life is good.
If he doesn't I hope he makes some nice homages, if you will, to Vampire's Kiss. It's Dracula.
I hope so. God, I hope so. Oh, what a terrible movie. Yeah, so looking forward to that. That is all that happened last week in film. So before we get to our top 10 best remakes countdown, I did watch one and a half 2021 releases this week. I'll start with King Richard. King Richard came out a few weeks ago, but we're playing kind of fast and loose with release dates now. Fuck it. So I waited till I had some time to watch this 2-hour and 24-minute tennis drama, which sounds like your living hell. But it was really good. It was really good. Will Smith's best performance in years. Told a very powerful story of the rise of Venus and Serena Williams. I didn't know just how unique their rise to tennis stardom was. Will Smith plays their dad, who recognizes their potential and spends his life, their lives, developing them into tennis stars. He's got 3 other kids that he kind of neglects for this, but they're in the movie too. I thought that was kind of cool. He's like, my 2 kids are going to be superstars. I don't know what they're going to do, but these 2 kids, superstars.
The other 3, good luck.
Yeah, it was rough, but I'm sure Venus and Serena take care of their whole family. I'm sure everybody's doing great.
I'm sure, unless like their 3 siblings are just meth heads right now. We don't know.
No, from the movie, like they're very good parents. Like everyone's like top of their class. Like they're good. They're good family. They're a loving family, if the movie's to be believed. And Serena and Venus did produce the movie, so I do think it's pretty on point, probably.
Okay.
John Bernthal kills it as Rick Macy, famous tennis coach who takes them on for free, just on the promise that one day they're going to be famous. Like he put it was a lot of faith, and he's playing against type. John Bernthal usually plays like hard ass, like intense motherfuckers, but this dude's so vanilla and like beaten down that he just kind of goes with it. With everything, he's kind of he's got a mustache. He talks kind of I kind of like this the whole time. So I would like to see him score an Oscar nomination for this, for Best Supporting Actor, because it's something he's never really done before.
I will always support anything with Jon Bernthal because that man is a fucking national treasure as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, he is. He's the man. Did you watch the episode he did of Hot Ones?
No.
It's the best one. He really shows off like his philosophy. He said like, I'm here to win. I'm gonna do this right. And like, but he talks about, the way he lives his life is like, he wants to be a good person. He wants to do good things, like, because he's happy to be where he is. He really it just made me appreciate him all the more. Like, he's such a stand-up guy.
I've heard from a lot of people that have worked with him that he's like extremely nice guy. Like, which is weird. I know, like, for a lot of people, it can be weird because you see him on screen. He plays really intense people.
He plays like aggressive pricks so well that it's hard to believe. Like, I could shake this guy's hand if I ever ran into him.
Yeah. And I heard stories like he brings his dogs to set sometimes. If we can't get anyone to take care of them, we'll just bring them to set.
Oh, yeah. I recommend checking that out. You'll just smile the whole time. Yeah, King Richard is on HBO Max right now. Probably won't be there for very long. But it's very good. Probably going to be a major player in award season, and just a delightful movie. Some of the most tense tennis matches I've ever seen. Just the way they do it. I mean, obviously who's probably going to win. I've heard of Venus Williams. I've never heard of any of these other tennis players she's playing, so I think we know who's going to come out on top. But that's not the point.
The movie's about her, so
I can name 2 tennis players, and it's those 2 tennis players. So yeah, King Richard, 8 out of 10, very good movie. Now, The Power of the Dog. Regrettably, not a biopic of Dog the Bounty Hunter, despite the perfect title. What this is essentially a super dull, meandering Western drama that was billed as a thriller, and I hate when trailers lie to me like that. When trailers trick me into watching a movie that's not the genre that was promised, I immediately go into this thing with just a bad mood. And I'll be honest here, I watched half of this movie and I couldn't take it anymore. I've been watching this movie all day in bits and pieces because I couldn't do it in one sitting. It's 2 hours and 8 minutes long, which isn't that crazy, but it feels like it's an eternity. Benedict Cumberbatch, who I usually really like, is woefully miscast. He's supposed to be this hardcore rancher with a sadistic streak that turns into love, like some kind of Old West Scrooge. I'm not sure. Ultimately, I just thought like a thought I've never had in my life, which was, who this movie needed? Kevin Costner. Like, he would have made sense in this role.
Yeah, but he has a good gig going with Yellowstone right now.
I know. Well, it's not like Cumberbatch is hurting for money. He's Doctor Strange.
I know.
Maybe this movie had its big, amazing moment in the final act. I won't know because I couldn't make it through it. I couldn't do it. So I won't give it a score because I didn't finish the movie. But no, I would not recommend it. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it.
No, I don't plan on watching it. So,
okay. So with that, let's get into the meat of the show. Top 10 best remakes. We've each prepared our personal list of our top 10 favorite remakes. Remakes, not really something we're both fans of, but sometimes, every once in a while, it pulls it off. The remake doesn't exactly surpass the original film, but it's a decent adaptation. Sometimes it does surpass. I mean, that's incredibly rare, but it does happen.
Yeah, and like with my list, in a lot of these cases, I do prefer the original, but I still really like these films. So, a lot of them don't surpass. Some, in my opinion, do, but not all of them. So, yeah, like you said, like these are just films that I personally really like, remakes I've really enjoyed. I'm going to preface that now because I know there's at least probably for sure one on here that when people listen to me, why the fuck is that one on there? Because I like the fucking movie. I get it. I know it's not doesn't have a lot of fans. I like the movie. I'll downhill with that movie. I'm fine with that.
Well, I'm intrigued. I definitely went with the a rule that it could only make my top 10 if I've seen both the original and the remake. I just feel like, how am I going to be able to judge a film as a good remake if I haven't seen the original? So no Cape Fear, no Departed. Like, regrettably, this is all stuff that I've seen both the original and remake of. So with that, why don't you start with your number 10?
My number 10, I feel like it's going to be a big one for a lot of people, which makes you wonder what the hell does he have after this. But I went with 1986's The Fly. And the reason I have this one at 10 is actually because I've only seen it once and I saw it late in my life. I saw it in 2018 for the very first time the whole way through. But with that said, what I saw was amazing. I get why a lot of people consider this to be one of Cronenberg's masterpieces. It is a stunning film from him. Jeff Goldblum is amazing. Gina Davis is completely underrated in my opinion. She does not get enough love for her part. I think she does fantastic. And the makeup effects, oh my God. Seeing him transform and how they pull that off, that alone is amazing to watch. So yeah, it did make my top 10. It's only at 10 again because of how late I saw it for the first time, but this movie is fucking awesome.
Wow. Yeah. Starting out big there. I will save my remarks on The Fly for a little later.
I figured yours would be higher.
So my number 10 is the most recent film on my list, a film I really had no interest in seeing, but ended up kind of blowing my mind a little bit, and that is Dune. The original Dune, 1984, I think.
I think so. Don't quote me. I'm looking it up right now while you talk.
All right. Is an absolute dog shit movie. I don't care who you are. If you love it, great. I don't. It's boring. It's obnoxious. It is 1984. All right, cool. And it's just, it makes no fucking sense unless you've read this 800-page tome. And I haven't yet. The new one, I feel, is far more accessible. I mean, yeah, they had to cut a lot. And it is part one of a two-parter that was not confirmed until after the film's release. So that was a gamble. But I feel like the film's cast is phenomenal. The story is much easier to follow. The visuals are spectacular, and the score is haunting. I really liked Dune a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I figured that'd be a good place to start for this list.
I should have figured you'd have this on here. I did not get into this movie.
I know.
Look, I've been kind of slowly coming off of Villeneuve, and it has actually a lot less to his comments, just that his work is very cold and distant. And while I really enjoyed it in a lot of his prior stuff, like Prisoners, Sicario, and even Arrival. I know some people kind of get off the bandwagon at that movie. I just couldn't do it with Dune. Like, I already sat through all of Blade Runner 2049, which I did enjoy, which was cold and distant. And then he wanted to do this cold and distant. And for me, yeah, visually, the visual effects were cool, but the world was just so bland and fucking boring to me. And I just was not into Timothée Chalamet's character. He was so fucking boring to me. I was like, I don't care what he is, who he is. I don't give a shit. So just for me, it was hard for me to engage in this movie. And I do remember I was just towards the end, just please end the fucking movie. And then when it did, and I was like, I know there's supposed to be a part 2, but this just kind of ends.
I get it. This is not for everybody. This is, just an acid trip Star Wars made by a philosophy major. It's just the craziest shit. But I think me going in with such low expectations really helped. And also, at that point, I didn't really have a lot of. I think I watched Prisoners and Blade Runner like in one weekend. I remember we were supposed to do the French Dispatch for that episode, but we couldn't get it, so we had to do Dune as kind of a last minute thing, and I had to shove a lot of Villeneuve into like a couple days. So it just, I don't know, it just worked out for me. It was a perfect storm of like me not caring enough for it to matter, and then having my expectations kind of work out. And I thought the movie was exciting. So Dune.
Yeah, I know. I realized apparently I'm on an island with that movie that I didn't think I'd be on, but here I am.
Fair enough. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is actually the only film that even remotely breaks away from horror, and that is 2012's. I'm so pissed enough people didn't see it in theaters, so we didn't get a sequel. Dread. This film, I saw it, so I can attest, people. I saw it in theaters, and it was one of the most kick-ass, like the type of action I enjoy. As someone who I watched a lot of the 80s stuff with my dad growing up. I watched all those 80s action guys. I love that, like, Tread. I know John Wick's getting obviously a lot of the rightful attention for what it's done, but I argue Tread helped in its own way get us John Wick. Because I know it came out the same time the Raid did, which was also a big influence on John Wick. But God, this movie just kicks ass. Like, it just starts and just grips you and doesn't let go to the fucking end. And it's gory, it's violent, it's in your face. Carl Urban is a fucking badass. Someone really, you could say, like a prototype of what we'd see with him and the boys now. Like, just all around, I can't get enough of this movie. I will make anyone who hasn't seen it watch it. This movie kicks all sorts of ass, especially compared to the fucking Stallone original.
Yeah. I forgot all about Dread. Yeah, this was a pretty badass movie. Definitely warranted a franchise. It's a damn shame it didn't get it. For me, though, it lost some points after I saw The Raid. Because it's very similar plot. And whatever, that is what it is. But I know that you have a great affinity for this movie, and I saw it in theaters too. So I get where you're coming from on that. Would have been cool to see more.
Yeah, and I get when people are like, "Oh, it's not like The Raid," and I'm just like, I get that, but it happens, right? Movies, unfortunately, it just happens. Sometimes these movies overlap in plot. It's not like I doubt they were looking at what The Raid was doing and like, we're going to copy that. It was just a weird coincidence that happened. And then it just happened to, like, they just came out at the same time.
Okay. My number 9 is the fourth version of this story. And it's become kind of a generational thing to put your own spin on this story. It's 2018's A Star is Born. I have seen the 1954 one with Judy Garland and James Mason, and the 2018 one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. And this film is just a sad movie. But so brilliant. Like I said, fourth version. It's hard to stay original when you remake a movie 3 times. But Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga's chemistry somehow made this work, maybe better than it ever has. You add a fantastic supporting performance from Sam Elliott into that, catchy songs, and just heartfelt drama that really feels genuine. And you've got one of the best films of 2018. And I never thought I would have said. I had no desire to see this, and when I saw it, I was blown away. It's one of the films that helped me get over some personal bias in certain genres. So yeah, I really like this movie.
Okay, fair enough. I actually did like this movie. I got around to watching a little bit later. I actually saw it when I was on my last deployment, and I guess I was just like, you know what? I'm always bugging Connor about something to watch. Let me give him one, and I'll watch A Star Is Born because it's sitting on like the hard drive or whatever. And I'm like, okay, let me watch it. So I'm watching it, and I'll be damned if like maybe like 30 minutes, and I'm like, oh god damn it, this is good. I'm sucked in. And then I got to the ending, and I'm just like, I'm not going to cry. Nope. And I'm saying, just like looking around. Thankfully, I'm like alone in the building, so I'm just like, God.
Yeah.
Their chemistry was great. I think they were what honestly made that film work so well, was that those two alone really sold it. What and I will agree, Sam Elliott was fucking phenomenal. Like, I've always liked him, but like, wow, he was really good in this.
Yeah, he brought it. I didn't know he had that in him. I think Austin and I talked about this recently on an Oscars Sunday. I remember talking about this within the past month, but the scene where like Bradley Cooper's just got out of rehab and Sam Elliott drops him off at home, and Cooper leans into the truck and says, like, by the way, like, I never looked up to Dad, I looked up to you. And they just both start sobbing. I can't get through that scene without getting choked up. It's immense, like just incredibly powerful. And like I said, for a fourth version of a movie, the fact that this thing's still making people cry, still, kind of like representing an entire generation, that's powerful stuff. I'm sure, in 20 years we'll see another one. And I'm wondering, who's that going to be?
Yeah, and then like how the song's taken off. I mean, that song's been included in probably every single version. And yet here I can't stop hearing that song now. Like, it was played so much when the movie came out.
Yeah.
And still played to this day.
Well, every version of the film has its own kind of signature tune, which is cool. I haven't seen the 30s one. The 54 one had The Man That Got Away. The 76 one with Streisand had Evergreen. And then Lady Gaga's got Shallow. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a good one. Definitely worth watching. Any of them.
Yeah. My number 8 reminded us why clowns are fucking terrifying. And you don't go near sewer trains when it's raining, or ever. Just don't do that. 2017's It, specifically Chapter 1, just so we're clear. But this was a movie that I was really hyped up to see when I started seeing, like, when it was finally when it was finally happening, and I was seeing he was getting attached. I was like, okay, we might have something here. So it was in development hell for like a while. And I remember when they first announced Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, I was one of the ones. I wasn't like vocal, like, oh, I didn't remember going, I don't see it. Like, I haven't really seen anything. I'll give it a shot. She might impress me. And boy, god damn, did he impress me. That whole opening scene alone is terrifying. This one, and don't get me wrong, I completely understand people who love the original, who grew up with the Tim Curry one, and I get that. But this one, to me, just blows out the fucking water. Like, they go a lot more faithful. They go for the R rating while excising a scene that no one wants to see, much less read about, Mr. King. Making Pennywise so fucking scary. Because, like I said, Bill Skarsgård, all the praise for his performance and all the praise to the kids. I thought that, just like how, one of the things that makes Stranger Things work so well is the kid actors, right? Same here. It's like these kids are really what make you keep watching. Like, they are a believable set of children facing something truly just fucking out of this world. And I've seen this film a shit ton since it's come out. I've seen Chapter 2 a couple of times, but I still mainly go back to Chapter 1. Like, that is just my preferred of the two.
Yeah. I'll have more to say about it a little bit later. But Chapter 2 is good, but Jesus Christ, is it way too long that it needs to be. There's no reason that film needs to be nearly 3 hours long.
It's like way too long. And then I think what bugged me is how much he said we got to scare adults, but they played into comedy a lot throughout the movie. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you said you were going to try to scare adults, but you're playing in a comedy. So what the fuck were you trying to do?
Yeah. Like I said, I'll say more later. My number 8 was the last film I saw in 2020 before COVID nearly destroyed everything. 2020's The Invisible Man. This was such a neat way to do this story, to make the protagonist a, domestic abuse survivor, and to make the bad guy a brilliant scientist who invented an invisible suit so he could fuck with his ex-wife. I mean, what the hell? And yet somehow this film is insanely creepy, super intense, and really keeps you on your toes the entire time. Very smart, a great palate cleanser for Universal's second attempt at a dark universe. Hopefully this one works out. I guess we'll see. But the original is a great movie too. 1933's Invisible Man with Claude Rains still holds up. The visual effects are surprisingly good for 1933.
Yeah, and he's psychotic as fuck in that movie.
Yeah, that movie predates World War II, and it still looks amazing. That's kind of incredible. Not to mention that dude has the highest body count of Universal's movie monsters because of that fucking train crash he causes.
Yeah, I remember watching that going, this is surprisingly dark for the time it came out. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah, it's great. And the remake holds up. The remake it's a good, I like when a remake tries a little something new while still maintaining the flavor of the original. I don't like shot for shot, and I don't like straight up avoidance. You need that happy medium, and this movie really does have it.
Agreed. Just like with some picks I did, I'll go more into this movie later because we do have a lot with that one. It is on my list. So with that, I'll go into my number 7, and this was the one that I had to. Why I said my goddamn list. It's a personal pick. I get it. I am so sorry to all the fucking fanboys out there that want a new movie bad, and we've been getting all the fan films because of it, which I've highly enjoyed. 2009's Friday the 13th. Oof. Yeah, I know. I know.
Hot take.
I know. This is probably my only hot take on this list, I think. I get it. A lot of people fucking hate this movie. I don't understand the hate. I really don't. The opening 20 minutes are fucking phenomenal. And after that, I would argue it's still very much a Friday the 13th movie. Now, I get it. I do get the survivalist Jason aspect that a lot of people fucking hate. My argument with that is if they're basing off the first 4 films when Jason was very much human and not zombie Jason from 6 onward. So I make the argument that, like, if anything, they're keeping in line with the first 4 films of him being human Jason and getting around the camp. So that doesn't bother me. I think Derek Mears is one of the best at it, at Jason Voorhees. I'm not saying he is the best. I still reserve that spot for Kane Hodder, but Derek Mears is up there. That man is terrifying as Jason Voorhees, in my opinion. And look, can you really hate on a movie where a character's having sex and spends half the time going on about this chick's tits with lines like, your tits are stupendous, you could win number 1 in a titty contest, or like my personal favorite, you have perfect nipple placement. It's the type of dialogue I want in my Friday 13th, and I enjoy that scene because of it. So I get it's a hot take. I know I'm definitely getting the ire of some people, including my roommate when he listens to this episode. But I will die on the hill that it's the 2009 Friday 13th. I'm a fan of this movie.
Well, there is no overlap here. I don't have a lot of thoughts about the Friday the 13th franchise. I've never been that wowed. I don't have any thoughts on the 2009 remake in regards to like how accurate is Jason. I have never given a fuck. So good for you. Keep watching it.
I will. Because guess what, fans? Till they figure that shit out of court now, we're not getting a new one. So you take what you can get.
I like to believe that in 2009, Sam and Dean Winchester took a break. Sam went to go take on Jason, and Dean went to go take on I don't remember his name from My Bloody Valentine.
Oh, the miner.
Yeah. Sorry, Josh. I know we did that episode. I don't remember the miner's name. I'm so sorry.
Josh is going to kill mostly me when he listens to this. I put this on the list knowing I was just like, oh, I'm going to fucking char hate on this one.
It's Harry something. Harry. Fuck. All right. Give me a second.
Are you looking it up?
Yes. Harry Warden. Oh, okay. There it is. Harry Warden. That was going to bother me. All right. That was your 7?
That was my 7, yes.
All right.
Hot take.
Hot take. Very hot take. My 7, pretty regarded as a decent movie, which surprised the shit out of me because it's a remake of one of my all-time favorites. And you know me. Don't touch my favorite movies, or I'm not going to be happy. So the fact that the 2011 remake of Fright Night is good still astonishes me to this day. I really like that movie. It's a great double feature with the original. It expands on a lot of things that I thought the first one lacked, like particularly the role of Charlie Brewster's mom, played by Toni Collette in the remake. Colin Farrell does a great job as Jerry. Anton Yelchin kills it as Charlie. David Tennant steals the show as Peter Vincent, a washed up Vegas asshole. It's perfect. And it's just, it doesn't just, rehash the first one. It adds to the mythology. It changes the location to Vegas, a perfect place where people just disappear and no one questions it. Like, there's so much to like about the remake, and I'm so glad it worked out. 2011's Fright Night.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I actually saw the remake before I saw the original. Because the original, when you came to my place, Washington, I finally had a chance to watch the original movie. So I remember watching that without the baggage of oh, you cannot touch Fright Night. I just oh, hey, they're doing this remake of a movie I haven't seen. I'll at least check out the remake, because at the time I think we had Netflix anyway, so it was easy enough. And by Netflix, I mean in the mail service, ladies and gentlemen. And I remember going not I'm not going to rave on about this movie, but a pretty good movie. I really liked Colin Farrell as the bad guy. I thought, if you're gonna get anyone that can play bad yet also kind of sexy, Colin Farrell is probably one of your perfect casting choices for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you get, as far as I'm concerned, horror royalty at this point in Toni Collette playing the mom. Anton Yelchin, R.I.P., killed it in the main role. I thought. I liked the chick who played his girlfriend. I think it was Imogen Poots, I believe.
I think that was her, yeah.
Yeah. And getting the comedian, for Evil Ed.
Oh, Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
There you go. Who I think that was at the time that he was really hot off of the Seth Rogen comedies and all that stuff. So it's a pretty stellar cast, and they all commit. And like you said, they don't. Now that I've seen the original, they don't take anything away. They really enhance bits and pieces here are very much honoring the original, even to the point that they got the original Cherry into a cameo appearance, which was really neat.
Yeah. I love Chris Sarandon's brief bit as the guy who hits their car on the highway and is like, "What are you doing?" and then gets eaten by Colin Farrell. That was just great. Yeah, definitely a fan. I love that I've got 2 great Fright Night movies to watch on any given time. That doesn't happen often. So well done.
Yeah, much less of a hot take. Woo.
Yeah.
I'm glad that one's over with. So the next one, my number 6 is, to me, what happens. We talked about, actually, when we talk about worst remakes, what happens when you don't get Wes Craven involved in your fucking remake of one of his movies? My number 6 is a great example of what does happen when you get him involved and you show him fucking respect and you want to make an updated version of his movie. That would be 2006's The Hills Have Eyes. If you've seen the original, you've kind of seen it. It follows that plot very closely. I love the original movie, but Aja, like I said, he, by going to Craven and getting his approval and making sure that he was okay with the script and the story direction, everything we want to do, while still making it very much an Aja film, which that was off his high tension run. So it's, you knew what you were getting. It shows in the final product. This is this is for me, a longtime horror fan, a comfort movie. Not for most people. I'm going to say that right now. This is very much an in-your-face, brutal, violent as fuck, gory fucking horror movie with a really hard to watch trailer sequence. And if you know anything about this movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's and I'll say this first, like rough as that scene can get, to their credit, the part when he gets revenge on the mutants, the movie makes it satisfying. It is incredibly satisfying. And it does have to do a lot with the fact that, yeah, they fucking up the gold quotient huge. And it's pretty cool. And the moon designs in this movie are fucking just disgusting and so cool.
I love that this is a comfort movie for you. My parents walked out of this.
I throw on if I want to have a good time.
I know I've only seen the remake. I've yet to watch the original Hills Have Eyes. But I didn't think it was horrible. I thought it was, violent as fuck, but like you said, ultimately satisfying to watch these assholes get theirs. So yeah, I knew this was going to be on your top 10. You really like this movie.
I love this movie so much.
Very nice. That was 6, right?
Yes.
My number 6 is one of the all-time greatest heist movies ever, and one of the few times where the remake 100% eclipses the original film. 2001's Ocean's 11. If you've ever seen 1960s, 60 or 66 Ocean's 11 with the Rat Pack, you'll know that it's absolute horseshit. It's horrendous. It's way too long. The heist is ridiculous. The ending is stupid. And I barely remember most of it, yet, despite the fact that I watched it this year.
And so you're a fan?
You could say that, yeah. The remake, however, has an incredible cast of A-listers, a great plot, a cool heist flavor that pulls the rug out from under you right at the end, like a good heist movie should. There's the heist, and then there's the real heist, that whole thing. And Soderbergh really stylizes this thing to make it just an enjoyable ride. And who else but Clooney could lead a gang like this? Ocean's 11's a delightful movie I go back to constantly. It's the best of the franchise. 12 and 13 and 8 have their good parts, but none of them ever come close to the first one. And yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I've only seen the movie once, and mainly it wasn't my cup of tea. But like I said, Soderbergh's another one that I've had like a weird relationship with, where like there's just something about his movies I've never been able to just get into them. I don't know what it is. I have nothing against them. I just, every time I sit down and watch a movie, I go, okay. And I walk away not feeling anything. I'm like, I don't get it. And then like, because of it, I haven't seen 12 and 13. I did see 8 with Sandra Bullock. I remember liking it, but again, I haven't been like, let me go watch that again. But I know you're a big fan of this. You've mentioned to me numerous times. So I'm not surprised to see it on your list one bit.
Yeah, especially since, I watched the original expecting a classic, and I was like, what is this boring ass, Frank and Dean, self-indulgent, boring ass 60s movie. I mean, ugh.
I do think it's funny though that like my comfort movie is the Hills Have Eyes remake, and yours is something like Ocean's 11. Really speaks to the movie fans here.
I like horror movies, but when I need to relax and unwind and kind of just want to turn my brain off, typically I'm not going to go for just rampant, violent, mutant rape and murder. Most of the time.
That's the first thing I'm going for.
Oh boy. So yeah, number 6, Ocean's 11.
Okay, nice. My number 5 is going back to the overlap movie, Invisible Man for me at number 5. Like you know, like I got lucky and I happened to see it on TV, the original one. I remember really going like, wow, this is really good. Like this film holds up all these years later. And now I'm a proud owner of like the Blu-ray box set that has like all the fucking Universal monsters. And I remember when I heard about this, it was after seeing an Upgrade, and they announced that hey, they're remaking Invisible Man, and Leigh Whannell's directing, and everything was like, oh my god, sounds like they've learned their lessons from The Mummy. And Leigh Whannell's directing, you all, and everyone knows how much I fucking love Upgrade. So I was just like, oh my god, yes, 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 this couldn't be more perfect. I was there like opening fucking night for that movie, and oh my god, what I got is exactly, and you hit the nail on the head on what I got. A movie that takes this story and still very much keeps it an Invisible Man movie, but finds a way to modernize it for today's audience in a very clever and effective way. And like, I'll say it to all the people that are sitting there, because I know there's been some guys coming out at me and like, it's a feminist movie, and shut the fuck up. It presents a very real situation that happens to a lot of people, which is what makes this film so terrifying. Now, obviously, for these people, they're not putting on invisible suits. I get that. But the inherent issue she's facing is already terrifying, which I think is what's so perfect and what he does so well. He makes her initial situation terrifying and then adds that invisible suit to it. Yeah. But what I love is that he plays with you kind of throughout the movie of like, is she really like, is it really him invisible, or is she like losing her own mind at several points? And like, what the fuck, like the way he plays with your own mind a little bit is fucking stellar. And I'll never forget that theater moment when her sister gets her throat cut and the gasp that went around the whole theater, because the knife's right fucking there. You can see it, but you're so engaged with the scene, you don't see it. Like your mind just doesn't register it. So you just go, wait, what the fuck? And then boom. And you're just like, oh shit. And it's so perfect. And then like I love too how he was able to still get in his signature action scenes from Upgrade in the escape. I was like, I remember just kind of losing my shit in the theater, like, oh, Upgrade action scenes. Yes, yes. Like I really, Leigh Whannell, man, between this movie and Upgrade, I fucking love him as a director so much. And I am so excited to what he does next. I think he was tapped to do another Universal Monster, and I think he had to drop out because of scheduling issues. But either way, whatever he does next, I'm fucking there.
Yeah. Invisible Man's really cool and really cemented Leigh Whannell as a guy to look out for in the future. Because not only was The Invisible Man a critical success, it was a huge box office success right before theaters shut down. So definitely he's going to have his pick of the projects, and I'm excited to see what he grabs. If he wants to stay original, or if he's going to get to helm some more iconic horror greats. We'll see.
Yeah, he would have, like, I remember for the longest time I was like, man, James Brown's really doing great, but Leigh Whannell, I just don't. I see him kind of sticking with like Insidious and stuff, and man, when I finally saw Up Here, I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, all right, Leigh Whannell, let's see what you got. You're really fucking okay.
Well, I remember when I saw him, pretend to choke on that cigarette poison in Saw, I remember thinking, well, he's not going to make it as an actor, so I hope he's a good writer.
People give him shit for that scene, but I think it's more like he is purposely doing it as bad as possible.
Well, in that case, he did a great job. My number 5 also overlap 2017's It. So I have no personal beef with 1990s It. It's a TV movie. It did they did what they could. Tim Curry made Pennywise, that an iconic image of movies and TV. But Bill Skarsgård, he made him the evil, sadistic demon that King envisioned. And it freaked me the fuck out when I saw it at the movies. I remember just like the visuals, like the painting lady coming to life. And
fucking outstretched hand from the gutter. reaching for
Oh,
Goldie. Oh my god.
Georgie walking away with no arm, like to actually show that. Oh my god! Like what a game changer. And then just like him coming out of the home movie, the opening, the whole thing of the deadlights. It really did a good job showing this. I like that they moved it to the 80s instead of the 50s. Thought that was really smart. The kids had such great chemistry. You really believed they were friends. And he just was so evil, so twisted. You believe that this thing was, like the devil as a clown. It was crazy. The score is super intense. I thought, splitting it in half was really smart. This film, it stands on its own, but if you want to watch chapter 2, you can, but like you don't have to. And like you said, we don't get to see all these kids fuck each other in the sewer. So that's also a positive.
Look, as someone who's now read it twice, because I reread it when I bought the book finally. Yeah, I'm okay. I don't need it. It was just as awkward to read that scene as when I first read the book.
It made me stop reading it. I read that and I'm like, I'm good. I'm done. I don't need to read the rest of this. I've been reading this for like 8 months. I think I'm good.
It wouldn't be so bad if King was just be like, hey, look, yeah, I made it. That wasn't a good idea. But he keeps trying to defend the scene.
He's gotten out. Just say it was the Coke. It was the Coke writing. It wasn't me. It was the Coke. Just say that and you're out.
Yeah. Stop trying to say like, well, it's really solidifying their friendship. I don't need to read a story about they all go and how they're inside her to solidify this friend and how Ben was apparently like the biggest like packing one there. Like, I don't need to know this, King.
Oh boy. Yeah. I'm going to choose to believe it was the Coke, even though King won't fucking admit it. He won't just let that one slide. I don't know. I know there's sacrificing artistic integrity. And then there's this. just back it off, buddy. Just stop. Steve, come on, man.
Well, no one's going to be mad if you go like, I probably shouldn't have worked that scene. We'll be like, yeah, no, we agree.
Oh my God.
Disagrees with that statement. You should not be around children.
I want to point out real quick. I've fell down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole. I've been watching fan-made trailers of classic movies recut to be different genres. And somebody recut the 1990 It to look like a family comedy. And it's like about a group of kids who can't quite, be happy. And they meet this friendly clown who shows them how great life is. It was so funny. I'll send you the link. It's great.
Okay.
So yeah, number 5, It.
Nice. My number 4. It's another comfort movie to give you an idea. And a lot of people love to pull it's not really a remake because of the post-credit scene, which is one fucking scene of him saying the word. So it doesn't count to me. And that is 2013's very much a remake at this point. Evil Dead. I know a lot of people when it first announced, obviously came out of the woodwork because it's like, how the fuck can you touch Evil Dead?
Yep.
And I was one of those. I was like, really? You're going to touch Evil Dead? And what's funny is that this was the same year they announced the new Texas Chainsaw. I was super excited for the Texas Chainsaw movie. I was like, oh, Evil Dead. Don't remake that. When the red man truck for this trailer, I remember watching it and then coming over to your place and being like, dude, have you seen the red man? No, pull that shit up. Because holy shit, did they just lay down the gauntlet in that red man trailer? Like, this is the Evil Dead you're getting. But again, people still complain, right? Because they're like, well, it's not comedic, it's not funny. The first Evil Dead, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, is not comedic at all.
Yep.
The very original 1981 film, not comedic, very much a horror film for its time. The sequel goes much more into comedy and plays into what Sam Raimi tends to like a lot more. So with that, them basing off that original, it made sense they went for the more in-your-face route. Watching this film in theaters, I got lucky, saw it with a crowd. What a fucking one. That was just like fun time at the theaters. Everyone was on board. Everyone's freaking out during the gross scenes. And just like, it was just a fun watch. And like I said, it's like Hills of Eyes, right? Like, it is in your face. It is gory as fuck. But it is so much goddamn fun. I mean, if you can't have a good time when the whole third act is just raining blood and her having to fight a demon, like, I don't know what you find fun in life, all right? Because that was insanely fun for me. Yeah, I've seen this film a shit ton since it's come out. I love this movie to death.
I saw this with my mom and my uncle, and they both fucking hated it. And I had mixed feelings at first. I was like, I'm very loyal to the Evil Dead franchise. I love those movies. I love the show. So the remake very much was like, why are you doing this? You know, it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stop it. How dare who are you to think you can do better? And I saw it and I'm like, you know what? This is something else. And then I think we were gonna do a marathon or something, and you had like your movies packed up for something. So I'm like, fuck it. And I went and I bought the remake. I was like, we got to do this right. And I think it was right when we started the website. We were trying to fill it with reviews of classics. So we decided to do the Evil Dead movies. That's why.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, I think that watch proved to me like, this is pretty good. And then I showed my cousin the Evil Dead movies, and I capped it off with the remake. And it's become part of the watch. You know, if I'm in a marathon Evil Dead, I'm going to watch that one too. It's pretty good for a remake of such a classic. And that's kind of astonishing. And it is unbelievably brutal. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, like, you know, Mia sawing her tongue in half with the knife, and just, you know, the electric knife kind of fucking up that guy's arm, the chainsaw in the face.
Yeah.
Pulling her hand off when it gets stuck under the car.
Even like the little scene where she's like hiding and that thing's stabbing the machete through the wall, and it fucking gets her leg, and it's just like up close and you see it and pull out. I'm like, oh, like,
and then
no, I was like,
yeah, and then to just cap it off with Bruce Campbell, a little groovy at the end there.
Yeah,
to me that doesn't represent like a whole conspiracy theory. That's Bruce Campbell putting his stamp of approval on a remake of the movie that started his career. That's all it is.
Yeah, and like I said, even if like I know they talk about actually making it like where Mia pops up in a future Evil Dead property, and that would be fucking awesome. But as it stands, like right now, I'm looking at it as a remake, and it to me it works. And like you said, like, dear God, and it was so. I remember when I watched that Red Band, I thought like, I hope they're not putting all the violence in the fucking Red Band. No, they held back. One of the scenes that still gets me, man, is as someone who wears contacts and glasses, when the dude pulls that fucking needle out of his eye and does an up close shot. God damn. And by the way, that guy, I thought he was like going to be like the new Ash per se, for lack of a better word here. Because boy, does he get beat up. He gets the fucking thing in the eye. He gets the nail gun all up in his arm. And then, oh God, it's still, every time I say it, it looks fucking painful. Like it hurts my hand when she does the machete and the crowbar, and it splits his fucking hand in half. Woo!
Yeah, this is not your mama's Evil Dead. This is something else. I mean, you know, the original Evil Dead is a gory masterpiece, but this movie hyped it up. Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's why I wish Freddie Everest would just have made a sequel to this fucking movie instead of Don't Breathe. I didn't need a Don't Breathe 2, but I would have been down for an even more out there Evil Dead sequel.
It's still so funny to me that he had the fans vote. Like, what do you want? Don't Breathe 2, Evil Dead 2. And everyone voted for Evil Dead. And he's like, say no more. And here we are with Don't Breathe 2.
It's so weird because it's like, dude, there was like, if like again, we talked about, right, the hatred for this movie at first when it was first announced. Like, how dare you try to remake Evil Dead? And he made a movie that won those people over. Like almost the entire fan base, not everyone, but a good chunk went, this is pretty good. To then turn around and say, like, yeah, we want you to do a sequel. And he's like, no. I'm like, you literally proved yourself. They're like, making a sequel would be so fucking easy for you because no one's against you this time. Maybe now with Don't Breathe 2, they might be a little against you. But come on, man. But I can't complain too much because, you know, we are getting that new Evil Dead movie next year.
Yes.
And I'm very excited for, so.
Absolutely. Sweet. Yeah. There's some I just like knowing you well enough. There's some that I'm like, yeah, they're gonna be in here. I think I know what your number one is, but we'll see.
I might surprise you because I'll say this much: my two and my one, I spent a long time debating where to place them because they both mean a lot to me.
Same. Actually, for me, my top three are that. So I think it's my four.
Yeah, because that was my number four.
My number four is a Western. And it's not 310 to Yuma because I haven't seen the original, but that would be here if I have seen the original. But I have seen both versions of True Grit. The Coen brothers remake of John Wayne's piece of shit that does not deserve the adoration it has gotten. That movie is horrible. That man is horrible. I have a deep disrespect for John Wayne. Yeah, I've seen 69's True Grit. He did not deserve that Oscar. Moving on. 2010's True Grit is a very honest, very realistic Western, complete with stupendous Coen brothers dialogue and a great performance by Jeff Bridges as Rooster Cogburn. I believe he's U.S. Marshal. Yeah. And Haley Steinfeld, Matt Damon, Josh Brolin, all fantastic. And it's just a wonderful neo-Western, if you would call it that. I don't want to step on any film school student toes here.
I'm just going to call it a Western and be safe.
Yeah, good idea. I was trying to overstep there, trying to bite off more than I could chew. I took 3 film classes in college. I can't do it.
You're a fucking Mozart of film now, aren't you? You're just pushing your glasses up right now. Excuse me, I've taken 3 courses on film. Okay? Actually,
I like True Grit. I love the Coen brothers. They filmed this not too far from my house, which is pretty cool. They filmed a part in the Blanco courthouse.
I know you say not too far from my house. You remember where I lived?
Well, you don't live there now. My family still lives
no.
there. So valid statement.
But I'm just saying, I lived even closer because remember, I lived right down the fucking road from the courthouse.
You live on the other side of the country now. So
not when this movie was filmed.
I don't care. I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
I could look to the right on my front yard. Just take a quick look to the right, and there's a courthouse right there.
Well, you moved, so you don't get that anymore.
I will say this: like, look, getting to school was a bitch that week. I fucking hated it so much because they had to redirect fucking traffic. Oh my god, I hated it.
Brief aside, they were filming. Richard Linklater was filming his Everybody Wants Some movie while I was at Texas State while I was there. And I didn't know until I went to my film class. And my teacher was like, hey, did anybody see Linklater out in the quad filming? And I'm like, you fucking what, when? What? Like, nobody told me. I had no idea. I was so pissed.
Hey, look, if it helps, I lived right down the road from the courthouse. I never once saw Jeff Bridges or Haley Steinfeld. So never once did I see them in person. Grant, I know that doesn't say at the time not saying much for Haley Steinfeld. She was just a kid back then, but as a lot of people know, in case you aren't following her career, she's huge now, and she's currently on Hawkeye. So, yeah, you can say she's huge now. She has the Hawkeye gig. She's been in Transformers. Like, she's going places.
I have met one of the actors in that scene, the lawyer, who's like asking Rooster all the questions. I don't remember what specifically, but you remember that guy?
Yeah.
I met him, so that's cool.
One of my classmates met Jeff Bridges, but he planned it because I knew what he was doing. He put on a Big Lebowski t-shirt and was just walking around the set randomly. And sure enough, I think like Jeff Bridges' daughter happened to be there, like ran out and was like, hey, can you stay here real quick? And then like ran back to the trailer to go grab her dad, who was Jeff Bridges.
Okay, that's pretty cool. It's a little shady the way he did that, but still pretty cool.
It's shady, but he met Jeff Bridges. So like, is he wrong for doing it?
Well, anyway, yeah. True Grit is a really cool, really good remake. Also, cool to see the Coens do a Western. Definitely a good watch.
Yeah, no, I'll look, actual movie, not the fact that we grew up in the town it filmed in. No, this was actually a really good movie. I remember, obviously, like a lot of people in Blanco, you're the same. We rushed to rent it because we're like, oh, they filmed at the courthouse. We got to watch it. And I'm actually like really happy with this movie. I didn't like that Jeff Bridges felt the need to keep doing that accent for another like movie or two. I don't know why he felt that was a good creative choice there.
Yeah, he kind of just fell into the role for a few movies. Yeah, I remember that bothered me a lot too.
Yeah, I'm glad to see he's not doing that anymore. Um, but he really does kill it in this movie, and so him and Matt Damon to me are just fucking phenomenal in this movie. They crush it. And Haley Steinfeld, you do see why she's getting played the role she's getting now for sure as a kid already in her first role. Just all great. I actually have seen the original True Grit. I don't hate it as much as you. I don't mind the movie. It's not my go-to, but again, it's not necessarily that I am on the. I think my thing with John Wayne is that like it's hard for me to get into his films because I'm such a big fan of like the Clint Eastwood style of westerns and that spaghetti western, where it's just more realistic of like how it was instead of this just black and white. Like these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. Like it's just like that's just really bland storytelling to me. I get that that's what was big. I understand its place in history and why it's there. It's just for me personally hard for me to get into.
Yeah, fair enough. Austin and I did a whole episode on Filmgazm about John Wayne, and we learned about who he really was as a person, and we didn't care for it. He was a racist, misogynist, homophobic piece of shit who does not deserve the national adoration he's been getting for half a fucking century. A lot of his movies bleed together, but some stand out. I like Rio Bravo. I like The Searchers. I like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. So I don't hate his work, but True Grit is just a boring slog of a movie that the Coens did so much better.
Mm-hmm. So. No, I think the Coens did a lot better with it. So that said, my number 3, which is the only hot take about this for some people, is that they'll probably be like, this should be your number 1. It's the greatest remake of all time. Because it's directed by one of the greatest directors of all time.
Okay.
1982's John Carpenter's The Thing. Look, give me a break. I put it at number 3. And that's because the 2 above it just mean more to me. That's it. With that said, yeah, this remake is fucking spectacular. Like, it boggles my mind that this film flopped and people hate on it so hard when it first came out. Because from the performances, Carpenter's direction, the amazing practical effects, which, as we talked about when I brought up the fucking remake for my worst remakes, one of the things I hated about was that they covered up all the practical works that they were going to do with CGI, and it looked like shit. This film looks better than the fucking 2011 movie. And this came out in 80 fucking 2. And yeah, this movie, like what hasn't been said really about this movie? Like this is such an expert film in isolation, in paranoia, fucking so many great scenes. And one of the to me, like the 3, that collaboration period between Carpenter and Kurt Russell that just gave us things like this movie and Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China. Like we got some really great fucking movies out of these 2 that I kind of wish they had gone on longer, but I'll take what I can get, So yeah, number 3, man, The Thing. Like this movie rocks.
Y'all know how much I fucking adore The Thing, but it did not make my list specifically because I have never seen the 50s movie that I believe Howard Hawks directed. I've never seen The Thing from Another World, so I could not include The Thing. Sorry. But yeah, it's a great movie and it's a masterpiece. And you can't talk about the best remakes of all time without this film being represented. So I'm glad it's on your list.
Yeah. Like I said, the only hot take is I'm sure some people are going to be like, they should be number 1. It should be higher. Again, look, it's personal, right? Subjective, personal. Just the 2 that I'm about to say here, just they have a lot more special place in my heart. That said, like I said, it's number 3. I fucking love this movie. The Thing is great. It's a great fucking movie. One of the best fucking endings of all time.
Oh yeah. Why don't we just stay here for a while? See what happens. I get chills every time. There's so many little things that are like, maybe it's him, maybe it's nobody. So great. I bought the video game they did in the early 2000s on PlayStation 2. I found it at a thrift store and I bought it and I started playing it a little bit. And it's just slow going, but it's very atmospheric and builds off the movie.
Yeah, I'll say I've heard from a lot of video game sites, like it's not a bad game.
Nah. Once I have some downtime, I'm gonna properly get into that. But very cool. My number 3 is the only superhero movie on my list, and technically not a remake. It's Hollywood would call it a reboot, which I think is just a fancy word for a remake. So
it is. It's a fancy word for remake.
Yeah. But also, this is a film that gave my favorite superhero a new chance at life and turned Christopher Nolan into a household name. 2005's Batman Begins. If you want to call it a remake, it's a remake of the Adam West movie and Tim Burton's Batman 89. If you want to call it a remake, I'm calling it a remake because I wanted it on this list. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. Batman Begins is a fucking masterpiece. It's so cool. And it's a proper full-length origin story for Bruce Wayne. And it works. I mean, you've got a great villain trifecta in Ra's al Ghul, Scarecrow, and Carmine Falcone. All three played phenomenally by Liam Neeson, Cillian Murphy, and Tom Wilkinson, respectively. And respectfully. Well done, man. But Christian Bale kills it as Batman. It's the score, the direction, the fact that this movie had so much to live up to. It had to restore everyone's faith in Batman after 97. And it pulled it off. From this, we got The Dark Knight Rises, and, bit of a rocky Zack Snyder series of events. And now we're getting Matt Reeves' Batman. So really, you can trace all of that back to Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, and a fantastic redemption story for the Dark Knight himself. So there it is.
I mean, if you really want to, you could say it's because of Batman Robin that we got all this stuff, because the movie had to flop and be so bad for this to even happen.
I don't know if that's how a lot of people see it. It's
kind of true though, because if Batman and Robin had been good, right, and it done well, we would have gotten the Nick Cage Superman film and the Batman Triumphant, or whatever the fuck they want to call it, and all that other shit. But instead, that flopped. So they were like, let's cancel everything and put this on hold. And then they took their time, and we got Batman Begins, which then led to all of the greatness we have now.
Okay, first off, I would have killed to see Nicolas Cage play Scarecrow. And secondly, when a building burns down and they have to rebuild the building, you don't thank the asshole who burned the building down for letting people build a new building. That's not how it works.
I'm doing it in this case.
Whatever. If you want to, all right, you want to give praise to Batman and Robin for fucking up so hard and gave us great Batman movies. That's for you, man.
One had to be a martyr for the rest.
Whatever. I love Batman Begins. It's a toss-up between that and The Dark Knight for me. I think they're both fantastic equally. But enough said.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I really like Batman Begins. All my comments I've made about Nolan aside right now, he does ace it with this. I think the only thing I've never really enjoyed about his run with Batman was that I don't think for someone who actually isn't that bad with fight choreography in other films, I don't think his fight scenes are that great in his Dark Knight trilogy, except the Bane Batman fighting Dark Knight Rises. I think that one works really well. But besides that, I usually just kind of like, eh.
I see that as him being, trying to create a realistic world of Batman. And in this world, not everybody's a fucking ninja. Not everybody can fight that amazing. So some of the fight scenes are going to be kind of bland because everyone kind of is just people.
Yeah, but it doesn't make for the most exciting watch, does it?
I think it does. I love those movies. I've never had a problem with that.
Point being. No, I do really like Batman Begins. I love the use of Scarecrow. I was really glad to see them use Scarecrow, and I've always thought Cillian Murphy is one of those like really underrated actors, and he crushed it. And I love that Nolan kept bringing him back for the sequels, like how he popped up. I think it was for the drug deal or whatever, like at the very beginning of the movie of Dark Knight, and then he pops up as like the judge in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't give Liam Neeson enough credit as Ra's al Ghul. It was really cool to see him play a bad guy. He hasn't played a lot of villains in his career. And
no, he kills it to me in this.
He was fantastic. I believe that he was, God knows how old, possibly immortal warlord who's just been rebuilding the world in his image. If anyone's going to play a convincing immortal, it's fucking Liam Neeson. Even though his Ra's al Ghul was supposed to be just another guy, and then it's a mantle passed on because this is realism. But it just worked. He was great, and I love seeing him again in The Dark Knight Rises for that brief cameo.
Or I love that that's what it was supposed to be, but because he did so well, they just went ahead and were like, yeah, he's Ra's. Like they're just like, fuck it, he did good enough. We're just gonna make him Ra's.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, now my number two. Now again, boy, did my number two, my number one took me a while to put where they're at because I really love these two films. But right now, as it stands, my number two is one that you know all too well that I've sung his praises for years, and that is 2003's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No, it does not obviously surpass the original film, but dear God, if I'd never seen, to me, a remake where everyone involved understood the fucking assignment and executed it. They made a film that did very much have the spirit of Chainsaw Massacre in this film. It was dirty, it was gritty, it was in your face, and the best part of all, it's actually not that fucking violent. A lot of people, just like with the original, they're like, oh, it's really gory. I'm like, watch the movie. It's not that gory. It is more gory than the 74 film, obviously, but still compared to like what would follow not too long after this film came out, it's actually not that gory. A lot of it is really like suggestive. Except for, again, there are a couple of scenes. So I'm not going to lie and say like, oh, there's nothing, it could be PG-13. No, there's a couple of scenes like you see a dude get his leg cut off. But it has, to me, nothing's going to beat that intro of Leatherface in the original, but this intro, again, when I talk about they understood what they were doing, to me, this is when you can see it right here in the intro of Leatherface. They understood they're like, look, we're making a film that a lot of people already know about. A lot of people are familiar with the original. So how the fuck are we going to introduce Leatherface? Like, how are we going to, introduce them for the first time on the screen? And the way they do it here is one of my favorites to this day. When like the dude's pounding on the floor, and they're like, "Hey, we gotta get out of it," and like the tension's building, and all of a sudden you just see that fucking door slide open, and that chainsaw rev, and you're like, "Here we fucking go with Leatherface!" Like, yes, and yeah, Andrew Bieranowski, to me, is my second favorite portrayal of Leatherface behind Gunnar Hansen. I fucking love him. He really, I get it. I know a lot of people complain about like them and like Tyler Mane, like the idea of getting these really big guys to be the horror icon to make them all scary. I'm like, it is kind of scary. Like, these are big motherfuckers that I don't want to be on the bad end of the fucking, in this case, the chainsaw with. Like, yeah. Dude's fucking terrifying. And the best part is that he's not even the only one that's terrifying. You have a very surprise, to me, as good as he was in Full Metal Jacket, I wasn't expecting how good he was in this film, but a surprise villain role with Arlie Ermey fucking killing it. I mean, the whole scene to this day, when he makes the dude reenact the shot, the crime in the car, and he has him like put the gun in his mouth, and he's like, fucking pull the trigger, and like, just like, it's a tense scene, and it's all because of Arlie Ermey, and to the actor's credit, his reactions. I mean, he is fucking losing it having this time. Like, this movie, like, yeah, I can go on. I fucking really do adore this film and like what it pulled off for a remake.
Yeah, I knew this was coming. I had two films in mind what were going to be your number one, and I think the other one is the number one. I think I'm right. But yeah, this is one I've got to revisit. I've only seen this one time. So I'm sure it'll end up on the show at some point in the near future. Yeah, definitely a cool film. I'm glad the remake pulled it off. I remember some specific moments where I was like, fuck yeah, like when Jessica Biel hacks off Leatherface's arm. I'm like,
Oh yeah, and
fuck.
he's just trying to grab it. No.
Yeah. How's he gonna hold the chainsaw? A two-handed weapon.
Oh no.
But yeah, I knew it was coming. Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to watch that again to give more thoughts.
Yeah, no, I really told people with this one, like, look, go into it not expecting it to be better than the original because nothing will surpass that original film. I was like, but if you know anything about the history of this franchise, like what they were going for with this, and like to me, again, you look at what the original does and what this one does, and it's very much filmmakers that understood what the original was doing and said, how do we do that for 2003? At the time, how do we do that for a modern audience? And to me, they fucking aced it. Like they fucking got what made the original work and honed in on that to make this one work.
Yeah, well said. My number 2 is one of my all-time favorite movies. And it was incredibly tough to not put this at number 1. But I just think my number 1 pick represents the idea of a remake far better than this one does. But I love this movie so much. There's no way this wasn't going to be at least in the top 2. 1999's The Mummy. What more can be said? I love this movie to death. It's a remake of 1932's The Mummy, starring Boris Karloff, which admittedly hasn't aged all that well. It's really kind of dull, more of a slow love story than anything else. Whereas 99's Mummy takes what works and turns it into this action adventure fantasy epic that also has the love story, but I think it makes more sense here. The cast is all people who pretty much never did anything better, which is kind of crazy.
Well, let's calm down with Brendan Fraser.
Well, there's Brendan. What's another movie that Brendan Fraser did that was this good?
I'm not gonna say movie, but Doom Patrol is fucking. He's killing it on Doom Patrol.
No. This is Filmgazm Productions, not TVgasm. No, I want a movie.
Okay, fine. You know what? Fuck you. We're just going to completely ignore his great work on the DC universe.
I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm just saying that his greatest movie is The Mummy.
Or some could say George of the Jungle.
Some would be wrong. I watched 20 minutes of that a few weeks ago. It's like, this is really not that great.
Look, I loved it as a kid, so.
I know. I probably should have just left it in my childhood because now I'm just like, I don't want to go back. Anyway, yeah, The Mummy. Everyone else is just all right. Let me rephrase my statement. They should have gotten so much more, but for some reason they got held back or something. I don't know what happened, but it's a great ensemble. There's so many great horror elements. It teeters that line between horror and action so well. I think if this had been rated R, this would have been absolutely fucking horrific, which would have been really cool. Get to see those, the souls get sucked out and the scarabs actually eat some people. But it's a masterpiece. It's a movie I've been watching since I was 4, since this came out, which is really way too young to be watching this. But I don't care. It helped shape who I am, and it's a masterpiece. And like I said, the only reason it's not number 1 is because number 1 is a better remake. The Mummy is mine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you said your complete piece on this film?
I have, yes.
Okay, good. Because I was going to go ahead and say my number 1 is 1999's The Mummy.
Called it. I knew it.
I figured you knew me well enough that you should know what my top 2 are going to be. It's just a matter of like, what do I put where?
Yep, I knew it. I was right.
So the reason I did put this, and I know because I've said like comfort food on films like fucking Hills Have Eyes and Evil Dead, is that the reason this is number 1 and does beat Chainsaw Massacre for me is that this has been a childhood film for me. I remember when I went to my aunt's one day, and it was when they had the 2 DVD set of 1 and Returns. And I remember just going, because it was like a really cool, it looked like the book and everything. Back when they actually made packaging really cool, like universally, not just like the niche market sites I get on to get stuff.
Was it the one that looked like the Book of the Dead and you like opened it in the middle?
Yeah.
I had that too.
My aunt had that. And I remember just kind of going as a kid, like, oh, what's that? Because I got interested. I was like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's this movie called The Mummy. It's I remember my mom, at that point I'm getting curious, like, oh, and my aunt showed my mom. She goes, "Oh, he'll be fine. It's PG-13. It's action adventure, a little bit of horror. He'll love it." And sure enough, I spent the night that night. When I spent the night, my other aunt came over because she had told me, like, "Oh, okay, let's watch the Mummy." They're like, "Oh, I'll bring you over the set. We can watch both of them." So they brought it over, and I watched both of them and just fell in love with both of them. I don't care what people say about the sequel. I think the sequel is a fucking good movie. Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, though, but yeah, this movie, it's like you said, it's like Steven Sommers just did a great job of taking like the elements that did work from the original, like that romance that is mainly the main story for the original film, putting it in there, but also wrapping it around a really fun action adventure, almost like Indiana Jones type serial action adventure that just worked really well, while also still putting horror elements here and there and giving that homage to the Universal classics. Because there are some freaky scenes. When I was a kid, that scene when he's running around without being able to see, no tongue, like that scene was horrifying as a kid. I remember going, "This is creepy." But this film just rocks, man. I mean, fuck, it really was. I think for like many people, the beginning of my love for Brendan Fraser as a kid, between this and George of the Jungle, why I'm championing his renaissance right now. He is, to me, to this day, to me, one of my favorite action leads in this movie, because he doesn't come off like the 80s guys where he's like this big badass dude. He's an everyman in a very impossible fucking scenario, and he comes up with some of the coolest quips and just half stuff that I was finding out as I was researching really in life, that he was improving on the spot. Like apparently when they're shooting and he's reloading his gun and she had to move him, that apparently he was supposed to move and forgot. So she like really had to actually pull him out of the way.
That's awesome. It's a great moment. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's just like little things like that like, it wasn't meant, but it added to the coolness of that character of Rick O'Connell. This movie, it's like you said, it's been with me since I was a kid. I remember when you came over and I got my 4K set and we watched it, and it looks fucking stunning. It was awesome watching a movie that's been such a childhood favorite look so good in 2021.
Yeah, that was, I think it's cool that ended up being the first 4K movie I ever watched. That's, it's a movie of firsts for me. And there were moments in there that scared the shit out of me too as a kid. For me, it was when Imhotep kills the Egyptologist and turns back and opens his mouth and releases all the locusts at Rick. That visual gave me nightmares.
Yeah, that part was creepy.
Yeah, fantastic. I knew this was going to be at least top two, and it was that and Texas Chainsaw constantly flipping back and forth in my head. So well done. And obviously my number one is The Fly.
Damn, I had it at 10, you had it at 1. Look at that.
I know, kind of, yeah, cool. Full circle. The Fly may be the smartest remake of all time. It exemplifies everything that a remake should be. 1958's The Fly, kind of a goofy horror sci-fi. Scientist and a fly kind of switch body parts, and his brother ends up marrying his wife, which is kind of weird. But
A little bit.
yeah, it's Vincent Price. It's ridiculous. Josh and I did an episode on the Filmgazm podcast of the original Fly a while back. You can go check that out. But the remake is so fucking disgusting. It is so vile in this impossible scientific scenario. But this is the realistic way that would happen if a man and a fly got spliced together genetically. This is what would happen. It wouldn't be, a human being with a fly head. It would be a human being rotting into a giant insect, which is, to this day, absolutely freakish. And Goldblum and Davis are so phenomenal together. You believe every minute of this guy's transformation from plucky scientist to inhuman monster. And the visual effects, oh my God, it's unreal. I mean, this is one of the few horror films to win an Oscar for best makeup, and it's well deserved. I watched it again a few months ago, introducing my cousin to it. And my cousin Ryan isn't the most emotional person. He doesn't really, he doesn't act excited or anything. He internalizes a lot of stuff. So when we watched The Fly, to hear him go, "Oh," was huge. I was like, I got him. He did The Fly and The Thing. It was his first time for both. And yeah, I just
what? That's a whole back-to-back feature right there.
I know, and both times he was like, "Oh, wow, ooh," like he was saying stuff, and I'm like, he's freaked out right now. I was proud of myself, but
yeah. Is he okay? And you're like, oh no, he's scared. It's fine. This is good.
When I was just quick aside, when I was a kid, I was watching the X-Files. It was the season 7 finale. It's not even a scary episode, but there's a scene where Scully walks into a force field and like was violently like thrown around. And Ryan, who was like 6 or 7 at the time, walked into the room at that moment, didn't say a word, walked back. I got a phone call from his mom later that day about how much that scared him. He didn't say anything. I didn't even know he was there. Anyway, I love you, Ryan. But The Fly, builds on the original film's premise in a realistic, modern way that turns this into something far darker than it ever could have been without David Cronenberg's 2 cents. And I love the story of Mel Brooks producing it because he believed in this product, and the studio hyping it up as, the next Mel Brooks movie, like, oh, it's going to be goofy, it's The Fly. Yeah. And they handed out like, antenna hats to everybody. And then the movie came on and no one was laughing. So yeah, The Fly is just, it represents everything a remake should be. And I just knew this was going to be my number 1 before I even started this list.
I'm with you, man. Like I said, the only reason I put it at 10 and I had everything else after it was because of how recently I finally seen this movie. It had everything to do with me just being late to the party.
Yeah.
Whereas these other ones I wasn't. I was seeing them as they came out. So I've been with them longer. So yeah. That's like the story of my life for Cronenberg. Cronenberg has been very late to the party. I have gone through a good chunk of his catalog, thankfully, but there's still shit I need to see. That's on me. I know. I still gotta get through some of his stuff. So, yeah. But The Fly is great.
Yeah, it is great. Yeah, this was fun getting to celebrate the best of remakes because we really shit on remakes a few weeks ago. That was fun. This was good too. Let's recap.
I'm going to say the years of mine just because some of this stuff's been remade more than once.
Yeah.
So number 10, 1986 is The Fly. 9, 2012's Tread. 8, 2017's It, Chapter 1, if you want to say the whole title. 7, 2009's Friday the 13th. Again, I get it. Hot take. Fuck off. 6, 2006's The Hills Have Eyes. 5, 2020's The Invisible Man. 4, 2013's Evil Dead. 3, 1982's Thing. 2, 2003's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And finally, number 1, 1999's The Mummy.
Nice. Very nice. Here's mine. Number 10, 2021's Dune. Number 9, 2018's A Star is Born. Number 8, 2020's The Invisible Man. Number 7, 2011's Fright Night. Number 6, 2001's Ocean's 11. Number 5, 2017's It. Number 4, 2010's True Grit. Number 3, 2005's Batman Begins. Number 2, 1999's The Mummy. And number 1, 1986's The Fly. Wonderful, great list there from the two of us. If you want to check out some epic remakes, that's a good place to start.
Yes. And if you want to open your heart to 2009's Friday the 13th, I'm here. I really have to preface that because that's the only one that people can be like, really, that one? I'm like, yeah, yes.
Yeah. If y'all have such strong feelings towards the Friday the 13th films, well, that's on you. I feel like I've had I've had a lot less restless nights than y'all because I just don't care. Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you like the show. Hope you had a good time. If you like what we do, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're at Filmgazm Productions. If you want to suggest films for us, send us some feedback. You can always send us a message on the socials or email us at filmgazm@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, you can click on support this podcast on your preferred podcast provider. We appreciate any and all donations. Not necessary, though. We hope you had a good time. We certainly did. Next week, we've got quite a bit of films to choose from. Steven Spielberg's West Side Story in theaters, the sci-fi thriller Encounter on Prime Video, Sandra Bullock's The Unforgivable on Netflix, and Simon Rex's porn star drama Red Rocket in theaters. Sure to be a wild episode, no matter what we decide to focus on. Depending on reviews, I may watch The Unforgivable and Encounter. We'll see. My grandma really wants to see West Side Story, so I'm probably going to end up going with her.
I will not watch West Side Story.
I know. It's 2.5 hours long, by the way, so that ought to be fun.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know what? It's a Spielberg movie. And if he's a director whose work I want to cross off. So that includes having to watch the new stuff. And then Red Rocket, if I can find it, I'm going to watch it. I really want to see that.
That's the only one that sounds interesting to me.
Well, we'll have to come up with another goofy thing, like another countdown or some shit to do for that show. And you'll find out what that is day of, because we don't plan much. We just kind of talk about like, hey, want to do this? Yeah, all right.
Usually how it goes, yeah.
Don't miss Jim Henson's Labyrinth on Wednesday's Filmgazm and a Best Picture showdown on the original 1961 West Side Story on Oscar Sunday. Have a great week and keep watching movies.